I'd like to take a second to welcome you to Cannonsburg Lake. What does a lake have to do with a KTM RC390? Well, there's something that makes this lake special. It's located in Pennsylvania, one of the 50 states of the United States of America, a land of excess, a land where when you get the fries, you get the large. I mean, it's only 20 cents more. A land where horsepower is often the first thing talked about when discussing a vehicle, car or bike. Subaru BRZ? Forget the handling, it's too slow. Why buy a new 600cc when you could get a 1000 for just a little more? Maybe even less if you go used. But there's another factor that makes this location in the United States special to this video. Here in the United States, you could get a motorcycle permit at 16 years old. Then you could go straight from the DMV and buy a brand new R1M. Here in the United States, small displacement bikes are looked at as nothing but beginner bikes. And with a claimed 40.29 horsepower at 8,600 RPMs and 24.28 foot-pounds of torque at 6,800 RPMs, pumped out of a 373.2 cubic centimeter single cylinder, don't expect to turn heads at the local bike meet or win races in a straight line in this land of excess. After all, a 0 to 60 of 4.6 seconds, over a second faster than that of a new WRX STI to be clear, is only for beginners. And a top speed of somewhere just north of 100 miles per hour, you'll likely never find trouble. After all, that's child's play, right? But see, I don't see a beginner bike here. I see a bike that's great for a rider of any skill level. Particularly, in fact, a rider who's more skilled and has experience on the track. A rider who can push this 340-pound trellis-framed corner carver to its limits. And aside from my views on a bike like this not aligning with the typical American's views of a baby sport bike, this bike has some features that agree with my vision, namely the weight, suspension characteristics, and above all, the sporty ergonomics. So enjoy the view of this quirky Austrian/Indian bike. Take a second to soak it all in. And then let's go for a ride and see if it really is just a bike for novice riders.
But now that I know you're here, I just can't surrender. I just can't surrender. I just can't surrender. I just can't surrender. I just can't surrender.
Alright guys, wow. So we're out on the 2015 KTM RC390. Wow. First impressions are this thing is extremely light. I mean, extremely light. The other thing I noticed right off the bat is he has that quick shifter installed on this bike. Man, it is nice. It is buttery smooth upshifts. It's pretty impressive. There's definitely a later biting point in the clutch than I'm used to. And yeah, it's definitely a later biting point. It's not bad, but it's just not what I'm used to. But man, this is such an easy bike to ride though. The riding position is very comfortable. Now, one of the nice things about the RC390 is it's more aggressive than, say, like a Ninja 400 or a Ninja 650 or something like that. Like those bikes sit upright. You do have a little bit of sportiness in your seating position here. You're a tiny bit hunched over, but it's like the perfect amount. I feel like I could ride this bike for hours on end easily. without any issues. It's not as aggressive as like a 600 would be, and that's purely just because it's a smaller bike, so obviously the bars aren't as long of a reach, but it definitely is an aggressive seating position for sure. I'll have to see what it's like to get tucked up on this thing. And it has a decent amount of torque down here in the mid range. Wow, this thing is all around impressive. Oh yeah, it's ready to flick over too. It's definitely ready to flick over. But at the same time, you know, we're going to test this thing out on the highway and see, but just running around these roads like this, it feels pretty planted. Let's see how it handles some turns. Wow. Wow. Wow, that's impressive. That is impressive. This thing is, I know it's tuned and everything, but it's quicker than I was expecting. To me, it feels quicker than like a Ninja 400. Huh? Dude, the quick shifter on this thing, honestly, might be nicer than my Ducati.
What?
I feel like this quick shifter might be nicer than the Ducatis.
Really?
Yeah. Alright, let's give it some juice off this light. Woo! Wow! Yeah, guys. This quick shifter actually feels nicer than my Ducatis. You know, it doesn't have the auto blipper down, but the upshifts are so smooth and so fast and precise. It's really impressive. If you're going to buy this bike, I would highly recommend getting this quick shifter set up. But either way, the bike is definitely super nimble and ready to flick over at a moment's notice, but it has that nice planted feeling. Honestly, it feels like a miniature 600. You know, when you ride like a Ninja 400, for example, that's the bike I'll compare this to, it doesn't feel like a sport bike really. You know, it just feels like it looks like a sport bike, but this actually feels like a sport bike. I don't know if it's the ergonomics, and the torquiness of the motor too is really impressive. Dude, this bike is sick. Alright, let's give it some juice. Alright guys, so it gets up to about 70 nice and quick, and the tucked position, it's a nice bike to tuck down on. It's not as nice as tucking on like a 600, but as far as these small displacement bikes, it's not even a competition. Like comparing this to something like, again, the Ninja 400, it feels so much sportier. It's really just not even a competition as far as the ergonomics go. And getting tucked up on this bike is pretty nice. I'm very interested to see how this thing handles on the freeway too. It'll be an interesting little thing to find out. But so far, riding around like this, man, this thing is really a joy, to the point that I'm starting to think about picking one of these up for a track bike. This would be such a nice track bike too, man. Wow, yeah, look at, oh yeah. Wow, guys, that is impressive. little bit deeper of a lean around that turn there. This bike just falls right over and holds its line. It feels so planted. I could definitely feel the sporty characteristic that was given to this bike when it was designed. It was designed as more than a straight bike. It was designed to be a bike that functions well on the track, and that's very, very apparent just riding around on the street like this, because man, what a great bike to lean into a turn on. Okay guys, so the one thing I have noticed is the bike is pretty vibey. You get a lot of vibration through the handlebars and through the foot pegs. It's not like horrendous, you know, it's to be expected on a single cylinder little basically sport bike. But it is vibey. The nice thing is it seems to be more vibey at the low RPMs. And it's strange, but it seems like when you're really giving it the gas, the vibiness goes away actually. Like right now how we're just letting it engine brake, I could definitely feel a lot of vibration in the foot pegs. But when you're getting on this thing, that all goes away. And it's not something that I would let deter you from purchasing this bike. It's not bad that way. It's just something that I thought I should mention. It's a little bit vibey, which is to be expected. It's very smooth though, the power delivery. It's very smooth. The fun thing about a little bike like this is you get a shift. You're riding around on a bike with more power. Right now we're headed at an indicated 40 miles per hour. And we're in a 4th gear. You're doing a lot more shifting than you'd be doing on a bigger sport bike, which is actually enjoyable. I mean, the point of riding a motorcycle for a lot of people is it's engaging. And this is definitely an engaging motorcycle. The suspension, oh man, that's something I didn't even think of that I'm starting to notice now. The suspension is definitely kind of towards the sportier side. Try to find some bumps and see how it handles them. I could definitely feel the road though. Yeah, I could feel every little bump. The suspension feels like a true sport bike. It doesn't feel like that soft, squishy suspension you'd get on like a Ninja 400. Wow, this thing is so solid. My God, is it solid. It really just has that nice planted feeling. Let's try a little late braking. No engine braking. Yeah, wow. The brakes seem to work pretty well. I mean, I'm sure it doesn't take much because it's such a light bike. But the braking is not bad. It has a pretty good feel. Let's try just the back brake and see how that feels. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's a little mushy, but I mean, a bike of this displacement at this price point, the brakes are impressive. Try the front brake. Yeah, it stops. It is a tiny bit mushy, but I could feel the power in it for sure. My boy Alex on the WR. Oh yeah. They sound so similar. That's so funny. They really do sound similar though. Man, this thing is just so light. Wow, you know, it has a gas gauge too. That's something I just noticed, guys. This bad boy has a gas gauge. Look living in luxury here. It's one of the only sport bikes I've ever ridden with a gas gauge. I know it might be more commonplace on the beginner bikes, but wow. This really does feel like more of a track-oriented bike. Just impresses me that it has a gas gauge, especially from such an eclectic brand, I guess you could say, like KTM. All right, let's see how this puppy pulls. Woo! Wow, she pulls up to highway speed easily. Still feeling pretty stable too. Yeah. Nice. Oh yeah. Wow, you know what, guys? First impressions, it doesn't feel like a little bike. It's very windy today, and I'm actually not getting pushed around at all. Wow. This is impressive. Looks like this dude in this Audi up here likes the bike. Hell yeah. Wow, guys. That's all I could think to say is wow, because I'm just blown away by how stable this thing is. It has passing power too. We're in 6th gear, but if you downshift, there's 5th. Oh yeah. Yeah, it does have some passing power. Nice and stable. Beautiful. Now obviously you're wringing its neck a little bit, but my buddy Alex, who was nice enough to loan me this bike, I know he rides highway all the time, and he definitely wrings it out, and he hasn't had any issues. So I know KTM's reliability, from what I hear, is kind of hit or miss. Honestly, I definitely like this more than the Ninja 400, and it's pretty comfy even with these more sport-oriented ergonomics. I'm starting to feel a little bit of pressure on my wrists, but to be fair, I've been putting my weight on them. Yeah, she picks right up off the line. If you're going to be getting into some red light race tomfoolery, this thing is going to probably dust most cars. You know, aside from higher horsepower supercars and very sporty cars, but like a Focus ST, a WRX, GTI, anything like that, you're definitely going to obliterate off the line. Woo. So if maybe you're looking to get one of these and some of your friends have WRXs or cars of that sort, then you can go ahead and put the hurt into them from a standstill. It's just such an enjoyable bike. I will say the seat is cushioned, but perhaps maybe too cushioned, if you understand what I'm saying. Like, it's not dense enough, and below that cushion is obviously hard, and my butt's starting to get a little bit sore. You see, guys, I'm just comparing this to bikes kind of in its range. Obviously, like compared to an R6 or a bike of that sort, this is a lot comfier. Wow. Wow, I see why you hear about these things keeping up with 600s on the track. You know, if you got a really good rider on one of these and a less experienced rider on a 600, there's no doubt in my mind that this thing's going to keep up, because it's just so easy to manage on the turns and it's so planted. It feels every bit as light as a dirt bike. Definitely, especially with the low center of gravity. Wow, that's all I can say. I'm pretty impressed. I'm very impressed, actually. What a great bike. Hey guys, thanks for checking out my video. If you enjoyed it, then go ahead and leave a like and subscribe. That's the #1 way you could support me. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave them below. I answer all my comments. So I would like to add that I mentioned he had a tune and a quick shifter. Those are from Powertronics, and I'd say they're worth it, because the quick shifter felt really, really nice on that bike. You know, it felt high quality. So if you have an RC390, then you could look into that. And I'd also like to mention that the seat height on the RC390 is 32 inches. I'm 5'6", and I could just about flat foot. So if you're a shorter rider, then this bike is probably going to be a good choice. And finally, thank you to Alex for letting me borrow the bike.